Jack wiped sweat from his brow as he knelt beside the hotel's AC unit. The lobby was packed with wealthy guests fanning themselves with newspapers and designer handbags, their frustration boiling as the Miami heat turned the air into an oven. At 25 years old, Jack was used to fixing things on the spot. But this was no ordinary job. His toolbox rattled as he pried open the metal panel, revealing a tangle of wires and circuits that looked more complicated than anything he'd faced before. Still, he stayed focused. He knew his reputation was on the line, and in a place like this, word traveled fast. The luxury hotel's manager hovered nearby, wringing his hands. "Please hurry," he whispered. Jack simply nodded, determined to stay calm, even as sweat dripped into his eyes, and the murmur of impatient voices rose behind him. He didn't know it yet, but his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. Just as he was about to reattach a wire, a woman's sharp voice cut through the air. "Is this going to take much longer?" she asked, her tone both curious and commanding. Jack turned to see a striking woman in her late 30s standing in the center of the lobby. She had the air of someone used to getting what she wanted, poised and confident, with a tailored suit that screamed power. Her name, he would learn later, was Evelyn Blackwood. She wasn't just another rich guest. She was the billionaire CEO who owned the entire hotel chain. Jack didn't falter. "I'm working as fast as I can, ma'am," he said steadily, holding her gaze without flinching. To everyone's surprise, the woman didn't scold him. Instead, she tilted her head and asked, "Do you speak French?" A couple from Paris was at the counter, flustered and gesturing angrily. Jack's eyes lit up. "Oui, madame," he replied smoothly in perfect French, stepping away from the unit just long enough to explain to the couple what was going on. Their frustration melted into smiles. Evelyn's eyebrow arched in surprise. "German?" she tested him again, pointing to a family nearby. Jack nodded, switching seamlessly to German as he calmed the children who were crying from the heat. Each time he shifted languages, Evelyn's curiosity grew. It wasn't just the AC he was fixing, he was diffusing the entire room's tension. With a few well-chosen words, in a language they understood, Jack returned to the unit, the room growing quieter as guests watched him in awe. With every wire he reconnected, the temperature seemed to drop a degree, the sticky air slowly turning into something bearable. Jack worked with the kind of care and precision only someone who truly loved fixing things possessed. The crowd's murmur faded into silence as they realized he was close to finishing. Evelyn stood at the edge of the lobby, her arms folded, eyes locked on him. Jack could feel her gaze on the back of his neck, but he didn't dare turn around. He focused on the final connections, his mind running through the mechanical sequence. Like a practice dance, he had to get it right. This was no place for mistakes. Finally, with a flick of the switch and a low hum, the AC roared back to life. Cool air swept through the room like a blessing, and the guests erupted in applause. Jack allowed himself a small smile as he closed the panel and wiped his greasy hands on a rag. The manager clapped him on the shoulder, relief flooding his face. "You saved us, Jack," he said gratefully. But Jack's eyes were on Evelyn, who had stepped closer, her expression unreadable. She studied him for a long moment before speaking. "You're more than just a mechanic, aren't you?" she said softly. Jack shrugged modestly. "I just like to help," he replied. Evelyn didn't smile, but her eyes sparkled with intrigue. She saw potential in him that went beyond fixing machines. As the guests drifted away to enjoy the restored comfort of the lobby, Evelyn gestured for Jack to follow her. They walked down a quiet hallway, the echo of their footsteps a sharp contrast to the chaos he'd just calmed. She led him into a sleek, glass-walled office overlooking the city skyline. Jack had never seen a room so modern, with minimalist furniture and a view that stretched to the horizon. Evelyn turned to him and said, "I'm not one to waste talent. Jack, tell me, what else can you do?" Jack swallowed, feeling both nervous and excited. He'd never met someone who saw him as more than a worker. "I speak 7 languages," he said simply. Evelyn's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded, as if she'd expected nothing less. Evelyn moved to her desk and handed him a bottle of cold water. "Sit," she said, and he obeyed. She leaned against the edge of her desk, arms crossed. "I could use someone like you, Jack. Someone who doesn't just fix machines, but fixes problems, no matter how big or small." Jack looked around the office, feeling like he'd stepped into a different world. He thought about the oil-stained workshop he spent his days in, the endless repairs that never seemed to get noticed. Here Evelyn was offering him something else, a chance to be more. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" he asked carefully. Evelyn smiled, a small, mysterious curve of her lips. "Everything," she said simply. And in that moment, Jack realized that fixing the AC was only the beginning of a journey that would take him far beyond anything he'd ever imagined. Jack shifted in his seat, his mind racing. He'd never had a conversation like this with someone so powerful. Evelyn Blackwood's gaze was steady, and he could tell she was testing him. "Tell me, Jack," she said calmly, "where did you learn to speak 7 languages?" Jack hesitated. "I grew up in a family that moved a lot. My dad was in the military, so we were stationed in different countries. I picked up the languages from neighbors, teachers, anyone I could talk to." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "So you're adaptable," she noted. Jack nodded. "I guess you could say that." Evelyn pushed off the desk and circled the room slowly, her heels clicking against the polished floor. "I like adaptable people," she said, almost to herself. For a moment, the room fell into silence. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the Miami skyline in fiery hues. Jack felt the weight of this moment, like he was standing on the edge of something new. Evelyn finally stopped in front of him. "I've seen a lot of people who can fix things," she said, "but not many who can fix situations." Jack didn't know what to say to that, so he just looked at her, waiting. Evelyn continued, "I need someone I can trust, someone who sees the bigger picture. I think you might be that person." Jack swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Why me?" he asked quietly. Evelyn didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked over to the window and stared out at the city. "Because you're not afraid to step in and do what needs to be done," she said finally, "even when no one else will." Evelyn turned back to him, her expression thoughtful. "I'm expanding the company," she said. "New hotels, new countries, new challenges. But I need someone on the ground, someone who can handle problems before they even start." Jack listened carefully, his pulse quickening. "What would that mean for me?" he asked. Evelyn tilted her head. "It means travel. It means dealing with people who are sometimes harder to fix than machines. But it also means being part of something bigger, something important." Jack let her words sink in. He'd spent his life fixing engines, patching up whatever was broken in front of him. But what Evelyn was offering felt like a chance to fix. More than that, to fix the things people couldn't see, the things they didn't even know were broken. He thought of the long hours in the workshop, the endless clatter of tools, the thankless days that all blurred together. This was different. This was a chance to prove that he was more than just a mechanic. "Okay," he said finally, his voice steady. "I'll do it." Evelyn smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. "Good," she said simply. She reached for her phone and tapped out a quick message. "I'll have someone set up your travel arrangements. I want you in New York by the end of the week. There's a new project launching, and I need you there." Jack nodded, feeling equal parts nervous and excited. Evelyn looked him in the eye. "Don't make me regret this, Jack," she said softly. He straightened his shoulders. "I won't," he promised. That night, as he walked home, Jack felt like the entire world had shifted under his feet. The old neighborhood looked different, almost smaller somehow. He thought of the people he'd met over the years, the ones who never looked twice at the mechanic in greasy overalls. And now he was about to step into a world he'd never even dreamed of. When he got back to his tiny apartment, he packed a single bag. He didn't need much, just the tools he trusted and the determination that had carried him this far. As he lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, he let himself wonder what it would be like to stand in a boardroom in New York City, to speak in French or German or Mandarin, and watch powerful people listen. It was terrifying and thrilling all at once. The next morning, he boarded a plane for New York. Evelyn's assistant met him at the airport, a sleek black car waiting at the curb. Jack felt out of place in his simple clothes, but he kept his head high. When they arrived at the new hotel, he was stunned. It was even grander than the one in Miami, with marble floors and crystal chandeliers that glittered like stars. Evelyn was already there, her presence commanding. She greeted him with a nod and said, "I want you to meet the team." The next few hours were a blur of handshakes, introductions, and 1,000 tiny details. Jack felt like he was drowning in information, but he refused to let it overwhelm him. He was here for a reason. Over the next few days, Jack proved himself in ways that surprised even him. He fixed the hotel's ventilation system when no one else could. He calmed down angry guests in 3 different languages. He even stepped in to mediate a tense standoff between 2 rival suppliers, using his calm demeanor and careful words to diffuse the situation. Each time, Evelyn watched from a distance, her eyes never leaving him. On the final day, she called him into her office. "Again, you're doing better than I expected," she said quietly. Jack flushed with pride. "Thank you," he said. Evelyn leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Remember, Jack," she said, "you're not here just to fix the broken things. You're here to make sure they don't break in the first place." Jack nodded. He understood. And just like that, his life changed forever. He wasn't just the mechanic anymore. He was part of something bigger, something that made all those late nights and hard days worth it. Jack never forgot where he came from. He never let the fancy suits or sleek offices make him forget the simple satisfaction of fixing a machine and seeing it come back to life. But now he saw that same spark in the way he fixed the people around him too, the way he brought calm to chaos, the way he made even the toughest situations seem possible. And in the end, that was the real magic. Jack didn't just fix things, he fixed the world around him, one piece at a time.